schedule. So really appreciate the time that you're taking to spend time with us on board of our new ship. No idea what I did, but it didn't work. I think it's still impossible, to start any speech, any moment that we talk about the future without thinking a little bit about the past. And the past first, obviously, is 13 January. We have been pretty silent after the 13th of January, and sometimes it has been commented. But we have been silent because we have been focused tremendously on our guest. Our first priority has always been, it was specifically in these days, to really make sure that we could do everything in our power in order to support them, whether it was with bringing them home, whether it was supporting the authorities, whether it was giving them the psychological help they need at some point in time. So for the company, the first couple of months after the incident, that has been really priority. It was as well appropriate for us in some cases to talk and to respond. In some cases, has led to difficult situations because the amount of lies and insults in some cases that we have seen have been tremendous. From suggestions that we have illegal people on board, children working, people losing babies, etc., which all has been denied afterwards. But has been a very, very difficult period for the company and for the people that work for our company. We're moving on after a couple of difficult months. Things are moving better, but we're moving on. I think as a company which has matured a lot. And which has been identifying, a couple of things that we need to improve. And then we framed up 7 points where we said, okay, these are critical elements for us in order to make sure that what happened will never happen again. It has a lot to do with before leaving the cruise, but as well during the cruise. Well, the first thing is, and you have experienced it yourself, the ship is not leaving, everybody has to do the safety drill before the ship leaves. Already in 80% of our cruises that was the case before, but 80% is not 100%. So we extended this to every single cruise that the safety drills are done while the ship is still in the port. The second one, there's an enforced reminding structure for the people who didn't. And in the end, they will receive a letter of the captain in order to make sure, please make sure that you participate. This is a very, very important part of a cruise. It's a ship, it's on the water. Accidents are tremendously rare, but if they happen, everybody needs to be prepared, just like in an aircraft. So these processes have been significantly enforced. Then the third one, which was for us is very important, there's a lot of things going on, is to give more transparency. Give more transparency to you, but as well give more transparency to our guests. And so we created a whole different section on our website where people can inform themselves about the safety of the ships, the crew on the ship, so who is the captain on the ship, what are the credentials of the captain. But they can as well see what previous guests have thought about the cruise. We know that 98% of our customers is satisfied or very satisfied. So we have absolutely nothing to hide. In fact, it's a very strong point for the company. And we have given the opportunity to our guests to leave very open, a bit like TripAdvisor, their comments on their cruises, which will help, for us restore the trust. Because if our guests are talking to other guests in a very positive way, I think it will help us in the future. And on top of it, there's a lot of good things to say. For us, it's as well a good resource. If we see some comments, of items that we need to improve, it's a good resource in order to see where we can further strengthen the company. To date, has been launched in English and in Italian, and over the coming months, we're rolling it out in all our major markets. Then there has been a lot of talk, obviously, about why the Costa Concordia was in the area. It was close to the island of Giglio. And that's why we've put in place a system which we call the high-tech safety monitoring system. It's a system which allows us to monitor, not to steer, but to monitor every single ship based on the itinerary planning that has been put in the system before. It's quite a high-tech solution, which allows us as well, at the moment that the ship is leaving the planned route, to get a message on the BlackBerry and immediately contact the captain to get some explanation what happened. So in 99% of the 99.99 of the cases, it's probably because there's a fishing boat or there's another ship coming our way. But for us, it's an additional tool in order to make sure that all our ships are monitored, and as well as the crew knows that the ships are monitored. I would just like to show you a small film on how that's actually working. So it's a very sophisticated tool that we've put in place, which will monitor every single of our ship, every single of the one of the 14 ships that we have in our fleet. One more time, it's monitoring, and we will not take the control of the ship. The control of the ship will always remain in hand of the captain, which is as well the right thing to do, because he has all the elements to take the decisions he needs at every single phase of the cruise. But it's an important tool for monitoring. And another point which is very important is how we work on the bridge. The bridge is where we steer the ship. And basically, many of the procedures that we have in place still date from under Italian law, 1942. And we thought it was up for renewal, but these procedures these are not Costa procedures. It's the Italian law, maritime law, and so here we need to have some changes in the law. But what we're putting in place is a more consensual form of leadership, where the captain himself is not necessarily guiding, steering the ship, but he's far more supervising, giving the orders, and then making sure that everyone is executing it. Which by itself creates sort of a double structure in managing the bridge without taking the responsibility away of the captain. But yeah, it will definitely help to avoid issues like we have seen with Captain Scatino. The next point is to make sure that there's many ways you can cross the globe. There's many ways you can do different routes. We've put new procedures in place where there needs to be a consensus before leaving the port on what route to take and why. It's not only in the hand of one person, but there needs to be discussion on what route do we take as well. There, by being more consensual, the objective is obviously to avoid routes which might at one point be less convenient for the guest, or bring us to situations like I've seen with the Costa and Concordia. Everybody gives his opinion why he thinks, giving the wind, giving the weather, giving the currents, why I think that route is the right one. Again, it's a measure in order to make sure that as well what we have seen with the Costa and Concordia will never happen again. And the last point is, some of us have seen some videos, is a very strict regulation of who is allowed on the bridge. That is already pretty strict. It's the people need to have the authorization of the captain. However, now we're putting as well a level in place where in some cases, the head office needs to be informed as well. So which is still, it keeps the current responsibility of the captain in place, but it puts additional monitoring instruments in place for our head office in general, just to make sure that what has happened in the past will never happen again.